y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome right on the heels of my Will I Buy It is an anti-haul. Now, I don't have too many products in this anti-haul, but some of them I'm like, I'm a little bit opinionated, I'm a little bit salty, because that's an anti-haul. You're talking about things that you think are stupid. You're talking about things that probably shouldn't exist. You're talking about things that annoy you. I mean, anti-hauls are created to combat the massive consumerism that is consuming. I mean, it was consuming back in the day, but 21st century, present day makeup marketing is, oh my goodness, it is beyond oversaturated. So we talk about things that we're not gonna buy, whether it's something that we really want that we need to be like, you know, you don't need it, or things that are just like, you know, no, that I have absolutely, why do you exist? So we're just gonna go right on into talking about things that I've got, like I said, I've got some opinions on things where you're scrolling through and you're like, why are people excited about this? I mean, y'all do you, but like, why is this a thing? What is this? The peak, the level of products that we're at, that we are so excited about things that as mediocre released like this. And the first thing I want to talk about is a new beauty blender. You know, not a new shape, not a new this does this, not a new, you know, but a new color. And it's not even a new color, it's a ooh, I change color when I get wet or when I get warm or cold. I don't even know. But it's literally just a color changing beauty blender. That's it. And I remember looking on Trend Mood in her post, she's like, innovation. And I'm just like, but is it really though? Is it really innovation? We've reached the point where releasing a product that changes color when you do something to it, that's innovation? That's the best we have to offer? I mean, I'm all about the 1990s mood ring aesthetic, but a beauty blender that changes, it's a beauty blender that changes color. I mean, I don't understand. Like I said this when I talked about just beauty blender releasing different colors of the same sponge, and people lose their minds and they're all like, oh my goodness, this is the peak. We are not going to get any higher than this. And I'm just like, people, get it together, pull it together, don't lose your it's a colored sponge. And I understand different things make different people happy, but like just reading that, I mean, what really set me off, I'm like, okay, it's just, and then just reading, you know, this is innovation. No, it's not. No, it just changes color. It doesn't change how you apply your makeup. It doesn't make the experience. Maybe it makes it better because you're so happy about this sponge changing color and you have a magical moment. But it isn't something that was created to make your makeup last longer, make it apply better, make it, you know, no, it just, it's just a color changing sponge and it's stupid. Okay, then we have something that's kind of like, you know, the Tarte's spicy Betch. We all know back in the day when Tarte was like, ooh, look at this beautiful blue and green toned eye palette, and everyone was like, yes, yes, give it to me now. And then Tarte was like, whoever decided, the PR manager was like, you know what? Let's tell them it's April Fools and see what happens. Well, the brand got appropriately dragged. I hope no one lost their job that day, though they may have. And so I guess with this, we are banking on that whole little like batch thing and seeing if they can, like, you know, get some more. So we released the spicy one, which, I mean, for Tarte, it's an exciting color story, you know, all red and nice things wonderful. It kind of looks like that Cheetos palette, Hot Cheetos palette that Jeffree Star reviewed, so there is that. And, you know, like looking at it, back in the day, this is another kind of makeup item that back in the day, 5 years ago, I would have bought because it was like beautiful colors. I would have liked the whole like, oh, the theme of it is so cute and I love it, you know, and now I'm just like, I got those. I got those in plethoras. I've got those in formulas that I like better, you know. Need I name, you know, blood sugar, Norvina palettes, sugar pill. I've got it. And so this palette does seem kind of just like a Tarte being like, please think of us as more than just a neutral company. Think of us, we can be innovative, we can be interesting, and it's okay. I mean, definitely let me know if any of y'all have it, and it's absolutely amazing. It's the new end-all be-all red orangey tone palette. But for me, it's just definitely something that I do not need, and I saw it and I'm just like, all right, whatever. I mean, honestly, if it were from any other brand, I'd been like, okay, whatever. It's like, what, a 6-8 pan palette? It's nothing that really shaketh the game up at all. And you just kind of scroll past it and you're like, okay, what's next? Okay, this next one is kind of weird. It's a new beauty brand. Is it RCL Beauty? And the only thing I have down here is triangles. It's the Triangle makeup brand coming out. Now, from a aesthetic point of view, I hate it. No tea, no shade, no whatever. I'm so glad that whoever's doing this is getting all their whatevers, but I mean, if there's one thing I don't like, it's triangle shaped makeup. I'm not sure what it is. It may have to do with how I like my storage to be, and just the thought of having to incorporate triangle shaped blush and triangle shaped highlighter into my collection gives me a headache. And even that aside, triangles aside, it doesn't look very interesting. I mean, that's another reason. Like, I always talk about, like, it's so great that we're getting new indie brands and new brands to try out. At the same time, we're getting so many new brands. We've got Kesha, we've got Lady Gaga, we've got Justin Bieber's wife, we've got that kid from Stranger Things, we've got Triangle Beauty. You know, there's just so many different companies coming out with products that it's just a little bit overwhelming, and it becomes at a certain point redundant because there are all these brands doing all the same things, desperately trying to be, what is it, that whole the commercial going on with House Labs. It's like, the last thing the world needs is another makeup brand. And I'm like, yeah, you right. What you know, yeah, I see, this is great. And then she's all like, but who cares? I'm gonna make one anyway. I'm like, of course you're gonna make one anyway, because you're getting a big fat paycheck from Amazon. I mean, does anyone else think that anytime I see like promo pictures or whatever's of them using those things, they make the eye look awfully crinkly, awfully textured? But that could just be me. I do digress. But I don't need no triangle makeup. I mean, I feel about this brand like I do about that one where the palette was like an R or something. Like, just no, it was a K. That's it. It was a K. And I'm just so not into purchasing oddly shaped things just for the sake of them being. And if you look at the eyeshadows, I mean, I don't know if it's like a popping magnetic whatever system, but it's got like, you got the triangle set up, and I'm like, are those like missed, like are those empty slots? Because if it's a pop-in type of thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, fill those up. But if it's a packaging thing where we only have that many eyeshadows and then we've got those blank spaces, I mean, that's friggin' wasteful. I'm not okay with that. But that is just my opinion. I mean, I'm kind of anal about a whole bunch of different things, so obviously y'all do you. Let me know if it's amazing. Something else I don't need. Colourpop turning into Morphe. They decided to release another big giant palette that, if you have a couple Colourpop palettes, pretty much guarantee that you're gonna have this thing. I mean, I guess the first one went over well, and then they were like, okay, instead of brown taupey neutrals, let's do rosy neutrals. I keep saying it, I think the way of the makeup future is gonna be smaller, more curated palettes, which Colourpop has done. Those monochromatic palettes are the absolute shiz. But then they released these big, more affordable Morphe type palettes where you just get 20,000 shades. At least 10 of them are gonna basically be the same thing. You know, there's not gonna be enough variation, because when you do a palette that's got like 39 colors, there's only so much you can do, especially when you're doing just one color story. Like, the bigger the palette, the more potential there is for overlap. So it's just like, and like I said, if you've got a couple color, if you are a Colourpop fanatic, you got this. Oh my goodness, do you have this? You have the first one. Like, just look at the sameness that Colourpop has become. They just keep rearranging and re-releasing the same shades in small palettes, in collaboration palettes, in big palettes, in singles. All Colourpop knows how to do now is release product, whether it's good or not, whether it's well thought out, whether it's a collaboration or not. That's all they know how to do. And I was just like, it's not even that long ago that they released the big one, and I saw the other one, and I'm like, really? Already? We did another one? You just get, you're like a parent disappointed in a child. You're just like, why? Why do you make these decisions? I mean, at least Colourpop is self-aware. Whereas Morphe and Too Faced are living in a level of denial that's pretty great. Pat McGrath Lunar New Year palette. I have no idea if this is a promotion of one of her existing palettes. She does tend to have a little bit of sameness amidst the palettes that she releases. The packaging is really pretty. You know, it's Lunar New Year going on. I have been made aware that Pat McGrath is not cruelty-free, so don't get your hopes up for me reviewing her stuff on my channel. And so looking at it, you know, you're like, oh yeah, maybe, kind of, but it's just, you know, it doesn't speak to me. I feel like Lunar New Year is very red, it's very gold, it's very vibrant, you know, like the packaging. And then you open the palette and you're just like, oh hey, this looks like, you know, the same last 6 mini palettes she came out with, and for I think they're $62. For $62, I would like to have a little bit more excitement, a little bit pop, a little bit pizzazz. And so this, I feel, is just another, you know, someone hopping on the bandwagon to cash in on that Lunar New Year. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, you know, no one was doing the Lunar New Year thing, and now everybody's doing the Lunar New Year thing. And speaking of everyone doing the Lunar New Year thing, in my Will I Buy It, I discussed how upset I was with Too Faced, who were just like, we're gonna take a pre-existing highlighter and slap fancy packaging on it. And I was like, that's stupid. They need to take a clue from Becca and Clinique, and lo and behold, one of y'all, God bless you, were like, hey, it's on the site now, but it's Moonstone with a fancy cute little rat pressed into it. Let me repeat that. It's Moonstone with a crappy, cute little rat pressed on it. It is a pre-existing highlighter shade that they are going to put in shiny whatever packaging, and they put a New Year stamp on it, and I am not happy. Because I got, one of y'all sent me the Year of the Pig, which is this beautiful champagne-y peachiness, absolutely stunning. And then Becca was like, that went over well. Jeffree showed it on his channel. Woohoo, we're making sales. Let's do it again. And some idiot in the marketing were like, well, to save money, let's just take a highlighter shade that already exists and stamp it with something new, and I mean, the audacity, the laziness of it all. I mean, I ain't gonna buy it now. What's the point? You know, you buy it for the cute little imprint, but if you're using it, the little imprint isn't gonna be there anymore, so what's the point? Because it's a highlighter shade everybody already owns. No! I'm not gonna, no! That's rude. That's like the epitome of rude. And after I was like, you know, Too Faced, you need to take it, it's just as bad. Okay, then another one that's like kind of just, you know, obviously I'm not quite as heated about it, but Natasha Denona released another little mini baby palette. Now, kind of my thought with these, I know a lot of people love Natasha Denona. They live, I know Teresa is dead. She's planning on getting this new little one. You know, a lot of people really love her shadows. They live for those little things and all that jazz. But like, I feel, you know, I've purchased expensive makeup. I have the Viseart Grand Pro. I have other Viseart. That is expensive. But I feel like when it comes to Natasha Denona, you know, she's got the $229, the $129. She now has a $65 installment, you know. And I feel like if you have to make the product, I understand, you know, the product is small, but you're never going to hit pan and all that jazz. We don't actually need the amount of eyeshadow that we typically get in a palette. But if you have to make your palettes that small, to make them affordable, why? I mean, that is a huge pass for me, just because, you know, the little babies, and you're like, well, I can afford this one. I mean, it's kind of like Sephora. Sephora's all like, well, you've spent $1 million here. You have this many points, and you can get one of these. And they show these little like makeup miniatures. It kind of feels like that, where it's like, oh, you're too poor to buy my big palettes. You know, you're even still too poor to buy, you know, my $65 one. Well, here, have a little teeny tiny baby one. And we're supposed to be like, thank you, Natasha Denona. Thank you for making a palette this big that I can afford. That makes me happy inside. I mean, I know my opinion on Natasha Denona shades is the minority. I love her face products. You all know this. But her face products, except for that one palette that's like $80, her like blushes and her regular highlighters, those are priced at just like typical high end, like a Becca highlighter is $38. And so when you've got just like, oh, my shadows are so bomb friggin' diggity, I have to make this little teeny tiny palette so that people can buy it. I just, no. Like I said, it's a little bit of hypocrisy because I absolutely love Viseart. That is one super expensive formula that I can say is worth it. Those mattes, one of my top 3 end-all be-all matte formulas. Okay, then something else that I really don't need. You kind of see it and you're like, all right. We talked about my Will I Buy It. We talked about the new Too Faced Born This Way foundation concealer inspired eyeshadow palette, which is something we all already own. It just isn't a Too Faced thing, and it isn't based on foundation and concealer shades. And then there was another teaser that was all like, ooh, look, illuminating powder trios. And what it's gonna be is it's gonna be a trio of illuminating powders. You're gonna have the Hourglass one, like formulated like the Hourglass one, that's a finishing powder. Then you're gonna have the typical highlighter one, which Too Faced, the only good Too Faced, the only really good Too Faced highlighter formula is in their Natural Love blush and face palette. So we're gonna get a crappy highlighter formula in the middle there. And then the last one is gonna be the sparkler, glittery, friggin' effervescent fairy fart top coater. So, I mean, I got plenty of highlighter. Y'all know 2020 is my low buy, so looking at this, I'm just like, I don't need it. I don't need a trio of different illuminating whatevers. You know, I have my makeup in such a way, I know where my Kachaya highlighters are, I know where my illuminating whateverness is, I know which one. I don't need all 3 in one little compact. And I tell you right now, they better release this thing if this is all like, you know, oh, based on our foundation range, which they keep, you know, Jackie, Ina, so bleh. They better release this thing in a myriad of skin tones, because the one they showed, I'm like, that's a little pale, that's gonna be a little ashy on my friends of the deeper melanin. So they better be having at least a light, medium, and deep of this thing. But I just don't need it, you know. Like I said, 2020 is going to be my big giant don't need it, I have it at home. I'm going to be, like I said this before, I'm going to be like my mother, you know. I'm going to go out and be like, that highlighter's pretty. Girl, boy, you got highlighter at home. You got drawers of highlighter at home. You don't need it. Wait till we get home. You can put highlighter on at home. And then something else from Too Faced that I don't need because I have it at home, and I don't have a huge inkling to I look at it and I'm like, okay, all right. But more installments in the Too Faced skincare department. Y'all know skincare is very important to me. Skincare, I get more excited about buying skincare than I do about buying makeup, and that says a lot because I love buying makeup. But new skincare, I'm just like, oh boy, my face is gonna be so good. And this stuff just doesn't do that for me. I look at it and I'm like, you're a makeup company that's making skincare. I always take with a grain of salt any kind of makeup company that decides it wants to do skincare, because as a makeup company, there's a lot of push, change around. You can change up your eyeshadow, your foundation, your lipstick. Skincare is something you can't just swap it in and out like an eyeshadow. You've got to use it consistently. You got to use the same thing for you to really see results. So I'm kind of not sure about that. And it's just not something that, like, I look at it and I'm just like, okay, all right, Too Faced skincare, not necessarily something that I need. It's gonna be overpriced, you know, they're putting it in nice, fancy packaging, you know, it's nothing that seems viable on the skincare front. Okay, then something that doesn't seem viable. It's Morphe. We all know your girl does not have a strong affinity. There's one product from Morphe that I will continue to buy, and that's about it. And they released a palette that actually kind of jives with me. You know, usually they release these huge things, and I'm like, why? We don't need it. They take up a lot of space. But they released the Beautiful Artistry palette. And you look at this, and it's got some nice reddy browns, you know, the reds just straight up, and then it transitions into these beautiful, deep, gorgeous greens. And then you look a little bit closer, and you cover up the red side, and you're like, oh! So it's a little bit of a bigger version of the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. And not only that, it also kind of looks like one of the Vault palettes with Jaclyn Hill, the potion, what, I don't know, I've decluttered them, I don't care. But it looks like one of those, and it's like, for a moment, you're like, oh wow, look at this cool little like green and grungy and more cool tone, and then I'm like, I got it. I so have it, and I so have it in a color and a brand and a formula that I love way more. Morphe is, I think, which is, I'm so opinionated about Morphe, but like at the same time, so many people love them, you know, even people who aren't on their PR list, people who aren't, you know, affiliates with them, you know, a lot of people love it, and I'm like, they're okay. You know, if you've got a Morphe shadow and you compare it to Colourpop, or you compare it to Juvia's Place, you know, it's just kind of like, I feel like Morphe is one of those brands, it's kind of twofold. You're not allowed to love it because you're like, oh, it's Morphe, and you're not allowed to hate it because there are so many people who absolutely love, die hard for their products. So I'm not buying the Morphe Beautiful Artistry palette because I already have it, and I definitely already have the other side because, I mean, look at those colors. Those colors were going hard and strong for a good 2, maybe 3 years. Then, last but not least, once again, this is kind of something that I'm not like super like offended or just like, no, this is the stupidest thing that ever existed, is the new Fenty, oh my goodness, the new little like mix and match whatever palettes. They're like 25 a piece, and then if you buy 2, they're 40, you know, for her brand, which is very clean, sleek, minimal, you know, very glowy. I feel like it's something that's very on brand for her. There was only one that I was like slightly like you see it and you're like, yes, that's the one I would get were I to get one of these. And it's the kind of cotton candy light whatever colored one, but I know for a fact, I know for a blanket fact I got those shades. I probably have those shades like a couple times over. I appreciate the fact that these are smaller palettes. I believe they're 6-pan, so you're dealing with a smaller amount of shadow, which is great, other than like a brand just coming out with like one big giant palette. You got a couple different options, but all of the options, and I understand it's a new brand. Anytime it's a new brand coming out with something, you know, they do need to establish themselves in like neutral territory because that's a lot of what people wear. But looking at them, I'm just like, there's really none of them that look like anything I don't have from a myriad of other brands. It would be a new formula. I'm not interested in trying a new formula. You know, the price point is pretty good, you know, for 25 each, you know, that's less expensive than Huda. But I'm kind of, you know, it's cool, it's whatever, but it's something that I'm just not interested in trying out or adding to my collection. Obviously, if any of y'all have it or have tried it, let us know if it's amazing or it's something that we should just pass on. Just for me and my needs and preferences, it's something that I'm not going to be buying. But yay for Fenty extending its line. All right, folks, that's what we have for this anti-haul time around. as I'm going to be buying less makeup, there'll probably be more anti-hauls, probably monthly if not more, so buckle in for that. I have to use some kind of therapy to combat the fact that I can't buy as much makeup as I would probably like. So a little bit of salty humor goes a long way with me. Obviously, let me know about the products I talked about down below. If you love them, you're interested in purchasing them, or if you are anti-hauling them. And let me know something that I didn't talk about that you have seen on Trend Mood or anywhere else and are anti-hauling. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!